Another day, and another video from my couch. Come on, girl. Go on. Becky apparently doesn't want to be in the video here. That's okay. This is... Let me just bring her over here. Oh. For those of you who have not met... Becky, what are you doing? Come here. This is my cat, Becky. Actually, she's my girlfriend's cat. I'm taking care of her while my girlfriend is going to law school in D.C. You're taking up my space here. This whole... Alright, she's already hijacked this video. So, before we just got derailed by Miss Becky here, I had been planning on going out yesterday, which was Tuesday, at the time of this recording, to go down to Great Sand Dunes National Park and do sunset out there and make a video out there. But I woke up yesterday morning, yesterday being Tuesday at the time of this recording, with just a splitting headache, just the worst headache, and I was feeling nauseous, and I wasn't able to recover from it in time to go out there. So that didn't happen. Hopefully, I think next week I'm gonna make up for that. Next week I plan to go out there. Hopefully there's still like snow on the mountains. I would be surprised if there isn't, because we're in December right now, and hopefully there might be some snow on the dunes as well. That would be really cool. But yeah, that just didn't happen yesterday. And so I kind of thought, well, okay, I'm starting to, during yesterday evening, so Tuesday evening, I was starting to feel a little bit better. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just get up. I'll go out to North Cheyenne Canyon, North Cheyenne Canyon Park, which is just a local park that people like to go hike and run and mountain bike, which there's some kind of actually nice bike trails out there. So I set my alarm. I was going to get up at 6. I was going to drive over there. I was going to go maybe just, it's not a great landscape area, but it's got some woods, and I figured, oh, I'd put the 50 mil on and maybe get some cool just nature shots, some cool artistic shots. And I didn't set the alarm on my phone. Ugh. So what am I going to do for a video this week? I told you guys in last week's video that I was going to talk about what my gear setup is for when I go out and hike and go out and take photos. So I figured, you know what the heck, let's just knock that video out today, and let's talk about what my gear setup is. So to get started, Becky, you might want to move off the thing. No? Okay, that's fine. So to start off with, let's talk about the bag. This is the Lowepro Photosport BP300AW2. This is a fantastic bag for going out and not only go hiking with, but to carry my camera in around as well. Let's just break it down here section by section. First off, we got the main compartment up here, which is kind of where I keep a lot of my accessories and food and stuff when I'm hiking. It's a nice deep pouch right here. It's got a little zipper section right there, and that's where sometimes I'll store some snacks, maybe some spare SD cards, or other memory cards, and maybe my wallet sometimes, although I usually keep my wallet in the top pocket here, and I'll talk about that in a second. So that's really useful. And then obviously the main compartment right here, this is where I usually keep all my accessories. I've got my filter wallet, and sometimes I'll also put a couple of my other lenses, like this 50 mil, in there as well. And, you know, lens hoods, because these can be a little bulky if they stay on the lens. But I certainly don't want to walk around without them. And I'll keep other things in here depending on what I've got going on. I've got a couple other things in here. Air rocket for cleaning my lenses or cleaning the inside of my camera, in case, you know, you get dust particles or something in there. And then I always keep this black, that's a little scuffed up because it's been living in this pack here. This is my black diamond headlamp. This was a Christmas present from my brother last year. great headlamp. It's got a bunch of functions on it. It can do red light, blue light, green light. Red light's really good when you're out shooting astro because it doesn't disrupt your night vision. And this is really powerful, so good headlamp. So I will keep that all stored in here. And it all just sits on top of the camera compartment. Sometimes some stuff will slip down into the little crevice right here, but that's okay. So that's the main compartment. Then we've got the top little zipper area here, which this is where I'll keep some other things like lens cloths, my shutter cable release, some paper lens wipes. What else? I'll keep my wallet in here. I'll keep my cell phone in here. Really spacey. I think I do have a spare memory card in here. Keep memory cards everywhere. So there's that. Then you got this front pocket right here. This is cool. This is nice and big and deep. You can keep stuff like water bottles, and I will keep my rain jacket in here. And also I will usually store my GorillaPod. This is the Joby 5K. I'll talk about this in a minute. I'll keep that stored in there as well for when I'm hiking. And then we have the side pocket here, and this has like straps all over the place, which I find really useful for securing stuff. We've got this side pocket here, I think was originally designed to keep water bottles, but that's where I keep my tripod. This is the Manfrotto B-Free Advanced with my brand new ball head. I talked about this in the last video. So I will keep tripod right there. And then my second tripod, which I'm filming on right now, the Ranger 150, or I can never remember what the model number is on that. That one I'll usually carry by hand, or I'll put it in here as well because there's a lot of room for it still. So, and the big selling point for me about this backpack was the fact that I could also have a water bladder. So I've got a water bladder in here, and so this is really convenient to be able to have lots of water with me, because especially hiking up in summer in the high country, it doesn't get really hot. But here in Colorado, I should say, it doesn't get super hot most of the time when you're up high, but that altitude definitely takes it out of you, and you got to stay hydrated. So great to be able to have a water bladder in here. The straps are nice and comfortable. Got this cushioned back portion right here. Got the waist straps, which most of the time I'll hike around without these strapped on because I'm just that guy. But there are times I will strap it up, and they're really comfortable. And also, little side pockets right here, which you can keep more snacks in. Or, you know, if you have a smaller wallet. I've got a really big, chunky wallet, so that's why I keep it in the top portion here. But this is a great, great backpack, lots of storage. And then, most importantly, lest we forget, we have the camera compartment right here. Got this little clip right here, which you clip on and you cinch to make it even more secure. And in here, this is where I keep my camera. I've got my 7D Mark II. I keep that in the main camera compartment, and then I also keep my 70-200 f4L image stabilized version, in case you gear nerds are wondering. I will keep that in there as well. Another little slot to keep SD cards, although I usually don't keep them in there because I'm always thinking they're gonna pop out for some reason, even though the slot is designed for keeping SD cards. So, and this camera compartment, I think no, it's not. I thought this camera compartment was removable, but it looks like it's stitched in. So, camera compartment's not removable. There are some little flaps that are removable if you wanted to maybe convert this into maybe an overnight hiking backpack. It's not really designed for it, but you could definitely take the dividers out of here and make more room if you want to. You can keep stuff like water bottles, and I will keep my rain jacket in here, and also I will usually store my GorillaPod. This is the Joby 5K. I'll talk about this in a minute. I'll keep that stored in there as well for when I'm hiking. And then we have the side pocket here, and this has like straps all over the place, which I find really useful for securing stuff. We've got this side pocket here, I think was originally designed to keep water bottles, but that's where I keep my tripod. This is the Manfrotto Be-Free Advanced with my brand new ball head. I talked about this in the last video. So I will keep tripod right there. And then my second tripod, which I'm filming on right now, the Ranger 150, or I can never remember what the model number is on that. That one I'll usually carry by hand, or I'll put it in here as well because there's a lot of room for it still. So, and the big selling point for me about this backpack was the fact that I could also have a water bladder. So I've got a water bladder in here, and so this is really convenient to be able to have lots of water with me, because especially hiking up in summer in the high country, it doesn't get really hot. But here in Colorado, I should say, it doesn't get super hot most of the time when you're up high, but that altitude, it definitely takes it out of you, and you got to stay hydrated. So great to be able to have a water bladder in here. The straps are nice and comfortable. Got this cushioned back portion right here. Got the waist straps, which most of the time I'll hike around without these strapped on because I'm just that guy. But there are times I will strap it up, and they're really comfortable. And also, little side pockets right here, which you can keep more snacks in. Or, you know, if you have a smaller wallet, I've got a really big, chunky wallet, so that's why I keep it in the top portion here. But this is a great, great backpack, lots of storage. And then, most importantly, lest we forget, we have the camera compartment right here. Got this little clip right here, which you clip on and you cinch to make it even more secure. And in here, this is where I keep my camera. I've got my 7D Mark II. I keep that in the main camera compartment, and then I also keep my 70-200 f4L image stabilized version, in case you gear nerds are wondering. I will keep that in there as well. Another little slot to keep SD cards, although I usually don't keep them in there because I'm always thinking they're gonna pop out for some reason, even though the slot is designed for keeping SD cards. So, and this camera compartment, I think no, it's not. I thought this camera compartment was removable, but it looks like it's stitched in. So, camera compartment's not removable. There are some little flaps that are removable if you wanted to maybe convert this into maybe an overnight hiking backpack. It's not really designed for it, but you could definitely take the dividers out of here and make more room if you want to maybe use this just as a hiking backpack and not a photo backpack. And one other thing I just remembered is I've got these little loops down here. This is for keeping like trekking poles attached. Great backpack. I used to hike around with a let's set this over here for now. I used to hike around with a hydration bladder, with just a regular hiking backpack that had my hydration bladder in it, and I would stuff my camera in there with my lenses, and in no particular order. I would just have them apart and with the covers on, obviously, because I don't want to damage the insides of these. They're expensive to repair. So I would have these inside just a regular hiking backpack, day pack, and they would just be rubbing up against each other. I would try to pad it, but didn't really work all that well. So really glad I got this backpack. Okay, so that's the backpack. Now let's talk about some of the gear that I take with me when I am going hiking. First off, let's start with the camera, because that's the thing that takes the images. This is a Canon 7D Mark II. I got this January 2015? That sounds... No, I got it December of 2016, early Christmas present. Before this, I had a Canon T3i, and when I was out at Great Sand Dunes for the first time, I destroyed that camera because it got dislodged in the creek that runs in front of the sand dunes. It got dislodged from the tripod that I was on, got dislodged and went tumbling down, and it got water damaged, and it killed the camera. And I sent it into Canon to be repaired, and they were like, this has sustained too much water damage, and we won't repair it based on the fact that the amount of repair exceeds the value of the camera. A lot of technical jargon right there. So, got this camera as a Christmas present, as a replacement for that, and it's been my workhorse for the last few years. And this is a really good all-round camera. It can shoot 10 frames a second, which is really great if you're doing wildlife. It's got an intervalometer, so if you're doing astrophotography, you can set the timer to go as long as you want, or if you're doing long exposure, you can set it to do as long as you want, or if you're doing time lapses, it's really great for that, for doing time lapses. Just a really good, I'm not very good at the technical speak, guys, so I will just say this is my workhorse, and it does a fantastic job. Crop sensor body, but you know what, that's okay, because I have some lenses that are designed for the crop of this camera. And it's built like a tank. It feels good in the hand. It's nice. It's just a nice overall camera. Shoots video, obviously. What camera these days doesn't shoot video? And then, like I've taken off of this camera a few times, I've got my 18-135 STM stabilized lens. This is basically my workhorse lens. It's kind of the crop sensor equivalent of the 24-105 that you find on a lot of, as a kit lens on a lot of full frame cameras. And it's got, you know, just a little bit more reach than the 105 does, obviously, because it's at 135. It goes out to 135, and then on a crop sensor, on a Canon crop, I have no idea what that is. I'll put that up right here. This has been my workhorse lens for the last few years. Came with the camera, especially if you're on a budget. Good workhorse lens. I do hope to replace this in the future, simply because I'm starting to feel unsatisfied with the image quality of this lens. I feel it's just a little bit softer than what I get out of my L-series lens here, which I'll talk about in just a second. But guys, if you're on a budget, this is a great lens. And also, something I do really like about this lens that I don't see in a lot of other lenses is we've got I'll take this off one more time, because, you know, for some reason I keep doing that. It's got a lock right there. So if you've got it in at 18 millimeters, you can lock it in, and it locks the lens, and it keeps it from creeping down. Say if you're shooting down on something, or if you're just carrying the camera, the barrel isn't going to start sliding down. And that's a really, really useful feature right there. So now let's talk about this guy. This is probably my favorite lens in my collection. This is the Canon 70-200 f4 IS L series, and it is just, this is my first L series lens. I've rented a couple of L series before and shot with when I've gone to Moab and Rocky Mountain National. I've rented a couple of L series lenses, but this is the first one I've ever owned, and it never lets me down. Tack sharp image quality, focuses really well too, I should say. And I mean, what more can I say about this lens? Obviously, it's, as an L series lens, the image quality is phenomenal. It is just, this is my favorite lens to shoot with, because the image quality that I get out of this thing is amazing. I really don't know what else I can say about this lens. It has been my favorite addition to my kit since I got it. I went with the image stabilized version because since sometimes I do some off the tripod shooting, and handhold is like, say I'm in a rush and I want to get the shot really quickly and not worry about setting up. That's why I went with the image stabilized version over the non-stabilized version. Also, I've heard that the non-stabilized version of this lens is not weather sealed, which as a landscape photographer, I'm kind of like, ugh. Having the weather sealing on this lens, on this version, makes me just a little happier. So I know Canon has just recently released a Mark II version of this, but I'm not going to be stepping up to that because I feel like this does the job just fine. 70-200, my favorite lens, and paired with this camera, hard to beat. Really, really hard to beat. And since this is as a crop sensor body, I get a little bit more reach out of this guy, which is helpful if I'm shooting wildlife. What else do we got to talk about today? This is my Low Pro filter pouch. I bought this a few years ago, and this is just where I stash all of my filters. I've got a Lee filter set up with a 10-stop with my 10-stop neutral density filter. So I've got that. I've got the if I can get it out here, I've got the filter holder, and the attachment ring is in here. And then I also keep my circular polarizer, which is attached to some step-up rings because I bought an 82 millimeter thread circular polarizer. Most of my lenses have a 67 millimeter thread, so the step-up rings are really helpful to just thread on, and you are good to go. The only thing, if you do have step-up rings, if you're shooting on something that's got a pretty wide field of view like this 18 millimeter, you need to be careful of vignetting from the rings because I have noticed, like, sometimes when I'm shooting with these, that the vignetting from the step-up rings will get into my shot, and then I've got to crop in. So just be aware of that, guys. Otherwise, that's that setup. I just have I believe this is an Amazon Basics circular polarizer. So not one of the more expensive brands like Tiffin or Hoya or B&W. So I bought that CPL for a trip to Scotland from a couple years ago. And, you know, you can make arguments about gear, about, you know, which ones are better. Obviously, brands like Hoya have a great reputation, and it can come, and a lot of people will argue, oh, well, they don't have this color cast or that color cast, or, you know, they have better this or that. You know, I think that's all relative, to be perfectly honest. I've had no problems with this Amazon Basics CPL. So, and it was cheap. You know, I don't do this full time, and I'm on a budget. So if I can get an item that lets me do the job on a budget, I think that works just fine. And you know what? When it comes to color cast and all those things, most of that is correctable in post-production in Lightshop, combining Lightroom and Photoshop right there, in Lightroom or Photoshop. So most of that is correctable. So I think that is most everything. Oh, this guy. This is the Joby 5K GorillaPod. And this has been a great addition to my gear collection. This came complimentary with the Be Free travel tripod when I got that, but it came without a ball head. So at the time I had a different GorillaPod, which that version has now been discontinued, that I bought earlier in this year. I bought it right before the model was discontinued. This 5K one came without a ball head, so I just took the ball head off of my old GorillaPod and threaded it on here. And so this is what I use primarily for vlogging. I'll have my SL2 mounted up on the ball head here, and I will be using this to go out and vlog. And it's a decent setup. It's not a true gimbal, which, you know, means I definitely, as you guys have probably seen in some of my videos, I will have some, it's not stabilized, so can be some shakiness. So there is that. But if you're on a budget and you can't afford one of those more expensive gimbals, totally worth it. And so that is that. That's everything that was in the gear bag. I think really quickly, just talk about I shoot all of my video for the most part, except some B-roll. I get B-roll on the 7D Mark II here. But I shoot most of my video primarily on my Canon SL2. I've talked about this camera once or twice before. That is my go-to vlogging camera. It does a fantastic job. The autofocus tracking on that camera is just, it almost never misses. Paired with my 10 to 18 millimeter lens, it's a great vlogging setup. And on top of that, I have a Rode video mic. I don't remember the exact model number or the exact type, but Rode video mic shotgun, which I use for vlogging, and that picks up sound just fantastically. In fact, it's a little too powerful, because a lot of times I find in post-production I've got to bring down my levels a little bit because I talk loud, and then I've got this really powerful shotgun mic right next to me, and I need to bring that level down. So that is my vlogging setup there. And then I've got my Ranger tripod, which I talked about this in the last video. I just put my old Manfrotto ball head that was on this tripod. I took that off of this tripod and put that on my Ranger ball, or on my Ranger tripod. So that's going to be my my video tripod here going forward. So that's it, guys. That is my setup for when I go out in the field. Again, I'm sorry I wasn't able to bring you guys a video from the field this week. I'm definitely planning on going out next week and going out into the field. It's been too long since I've done one of those, you know, just getting through the Thanksgiving holiday season, and then obviously not feeling good earlier this week. Definitely kind of derailed my plans for going out and shooting this week. So next weekend, we're going to go out to the Great Sand Dunes National Park, and we're going to shoot out there, so stay tuned for that. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown of what my gear setup is and what my travel setup is for when I go out and hiking out in the field. I will make another video about what I took with me to Ireland. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. As always, be sure to check out all of my links below to all my social media and my website. Make sure, if you're not already, please subscribe. If you are subscribed, make sure you're set up to get notifications whenever I post videos, so hit that little bell icon. And as always, I hope you all have a good adventure, and I will see you next time. This time, I promise it won't be coming from the couch. Next time, I will see you out on the trail. Have a good day, guys.